I know we started a little later this time, and I really thank library staff for staying. I had been detained earlier to go talk to the Cub Scouts with another member of the council and a member of the Board of Education. It was amazing over in the big room at UConn. Kids asked incredible questions. It was just like public comment. The good thing was to have a member of the BOE there to draw the fire away from the council. It was awesome. Actually, it was amazing. There were tons of kids. It was a wonderful, wonderful situation. So that's why we're getting started at 8 as opposed to the normal 6 o'clock. I'm Eric D'Amato. I'm the first ward councilor. Every face in here is basically familiar. I thank you for your repeat business. I would just say, opening that, talk to other people, have them come, especially anybody you know who is not happy with things, which I would think would be a lot of people, and that they should come and say their piece and listen to stuff. So I'm going to quickly go through some announcements. First, I'm waiting on a member of the Planning and Community Affairs Department, Mr. White, to come talk about something. He may come involving a project, a building project, construction project that may happen in Upper Montclair Center. I will not really be able to talk about it because I'm on the planning board, and I just did my 5-hour training of what it means to be on the planning board and learn that outside of a noticed meeting, official meeting, I cannot talk about any application that's pending in front of it. And we are all trying to follow the law. That's the most important thing. So I'm just saying now that there will be a shift and people are going to talk about this thing, and there'll be no disrespect. I'm not being cagey. I have to be totally quiet about this. Other members cannot. There's a member of our zoning board, Mr. Sun, he can talk about it if he would like. And in fact, Mr. Councilor Harrison, who's in the front row here, can also talk about it, but I cannot. The Montclair swap, which is a regular thing, is going on, and they sent me a notice. It's at the Women's Club, not this Women's Club, but the one on 82 Union Street. Donations being accepted are women's, our clothing, coats, gloves, etc., and household goods, toys, and games. So the drop-off is next Friday the 20th, and the taking of things will be on Saturday the 21st in the morning. I like to promote these things. I think it's good to keep stuff in town. One of our neighbors on Lorraine, week before last, had a home invasion, not a home invasion, but a burglary where there was somebody in the house. And they woke up and discovered 2 men inside the house. I don't want people to be paranoid about their safety. I think that we do live in a safe place, but I just think people should know about this. Lock your door at night and whatever, but just it should be said.
What time of night?
I don't know, it's in the police blotter somewhere, but it was in the middle of the night, yeah. And you know, things happen, and Arlene had her store broken into with a terrible, armed invasion. So we do have to be aware, but don't be paranoid, don't spiral. Some very important upcoming meetings aside from this one. Tomorrow night, the first one, from 7 to 9 at Town Hall, is a presentation by the town's finance committee about the budget. And I'll talk about the budget and stuff in a little bit, but they will give you the real deal. What is going on, the manager will be there, and they're gonna work through some of the main issues with the budget, which is being presented now. Next Tuesday, 17th.
I'm sorry, what time? What time?
At 7 o'clock in the council
And it'll be
chamber.
live streamed on the
It will be live
Montclair
streamed.
Will they be making amendments to the budget?
The budget process is basically beginning now. I mean, it's in process right now. Next Tuesday, the 17th, there will be 2 meetings at the firehouse, at firehouse number 1, on 1 Pine Street. At 5 o'clock, members of the Economic Development Committee, Councilor Harrison, Councilor Toller, and Deputy Mayor Shin Anderson will be talking about the financial agreement of the Lackawanna Plaza redevelopment deal. So Lackawanna Plaza, as everybody knows, this very long-term, long-suffering project. It may be, to a degree, coming to a head over the next. We passed last night a first reading of the financial agreement. There are several pieces of legislation that will be passing through the council from last night to a meeting, the next meeting, and possibly a meeting after. Just people should know whether you like it, whether you don't like it, it's happening, or an important part is happening. Tuesday, they will spend time going through this agreement, which is the agreement that we have with the developer if we sign it, which gives money, which talks about the sort of the non-tax revenue that comes to the town and all the things that go along with it, the finances of it. I don't know if it'll take 2 hours to do that. But at 7 o'clock following that, there will be a follow-up meeting, public workshop to the one that we had in January with the Facilities and Infrastructure Committee, which is the committee that I lead, and also that Councilor Harrison and Councilor Toller sit on, where we are looking at options for our main municipal buildings. And that you could watch the previous one that is also, and it will be live streamed and taped.
No, on the 17th, it will just be recorded. It won't be live streamed.
Okay, it won't be live streamed.
But I think it's Thursdays will be live streamed.
Okay, Thursday will
Make sure
be
you
live.
watch.
In any case,
That
these,
means they'll be on YouTube, not just Channel 34.
It'll be on YouTube.
it'll be on YouTube, yeah. So it's, these are important things, big ticket, big changes, and we're trying to be as transparent and, open to comment as possible. I really believe that, we should just wait until the last person has spoken, and we're getting there, I think, with the facilities and infrastructure. So everybody's coming up with ideas. I'll get back to that in a minute. So that meeting is happening on Tuesday. Okay. Advisory committee boards and commissions. At the checkout desk, there are what is called a volunteer interest form. This is if you would like to serve the township by sitting on one of our numerous boards and commissions. Here's the list. I will read it off. The Arts Advisory, well, I'm going to read you the ones that have significant vacancies right now. The Civil Rights Commission has several. It's an important body. I mean, it doesn't have statutory power, but we're a town that believes in civil rights of many different types, and so if anybody's interested in that. The Environmental Commission, I believe, has an opening. Kathleen, you don't have an opening.
I think I just filled it with this.
Oh, really? Mazel's. Great. The Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee has at least one opening. And if anybody feels that there's a particular part of our parks life and recreation for the kids that is not being filled, now is the time to step up for that. The People with Disabilities Advisory Committee, Norman?
Yeah, there's an opening.
There's an opening. Okay. There
We would
isn't.
favor people with disabilities,
Yes.
but other, parents, guardians are also welcome to apply.
I think there is a strong belief among everybody that it should be somebody with a disability. Okay, so, but anyway, the word should go around. I believe there is one seat on the Board of Adjustment, sir? Is that correct? There is one opening on the Board of Adjustment. And then there are some other boards, like I believe the Landlord Tenant Advisory Committee has some seats that are open. Anyway, there's a list. I'll leave this list up there with the ones that I know have notable openings are bolded and people can go up there. There are also some really delicious toffee treats that a friend of mine who works at Eataly gave me, and especially if you fill out or take a form, you can take a handful of those. Actually, before I close off, I would say there is a senior citizen advisory committee that is now sort of moribund, but but if people are interested in that topic, and I'm not, you know, stereotyping or anything, you know, if anybody is interested and feels that they want to be in touch, because, you know, there is movement on that. You should also know, and there's not much more to go into this, but that work is beginning soon on the senior center that is going to be at 205 Claremont Avenue. Okay, so one thing I want to talk about first is just to acknowledge that we are in budget season, and it's not great. It's not pretty. So we have the biggest problem that we face is essentially a one-time big jump in healthcare costs, which, as everybody should know, healthcare is an enormous part of the budget, and we have a statutory obligation to try to keep not raise taxes by more than 2% every year, the levy, with certain exceptions that we don't have to go into. That levy rise would be on the order of two or some odd $1 million, and the one-time increase in our health benefits is $3 million, just in that one line in the budget. So people should know this. It's a $3 million jump. We made a big change to get out of the state healthcare benefits program. And people should know this both as residents of the town, but also as residents of New Jersey and taxpayers of New Jersey, that the state has an insurance pool that is used by municipalities, and it is bust. Basically, it is what, I'm not being hyperbolic, their own actuaries will tell you that it has entered something like a death spiral. And they are trying to fix it, but, you know, so this is a very big problem. We have other escalating costs. We have basically wages that go up higher than that tax levy cap, right? 2% a year, but we have contracts that are genuinely more than 2% a year. Some significantly more. We have electricity prices that are going up. We have other energy prices, the price of asphalt. All the inputs that go into government are going up. I do believe that our manager, Stephen Marks, is working double time now on the budget without the help of a full-time CFO. We do not, you know, we lost a long-time CFO and then had somebody come in for a short period who, I'm not exactly sure what I can say, but let's just say felt a little overwhelmed by our town, maybe, and so he is handling this himself with the assistance of an excellent outside firm. But again, just know and pass on to the people that you talk to, because I look around this room and I see leaders of the community, basically, of people who are talking to other people. I think each of you has people looking to you for wisdom about this, and just know and pass on that, like, even if we do everything right, it's hard. Even if we don't waste a penny, it's still hard to draw the line at where we're at. And I would just say also that we are not alone, and that if you're paying attention to the news, especially in the tri-state area, the two big ones are that New York City, the new mayor came in with plans to spend a lot of money, I think, on maybe some very worthy new initiatives, and discovered that he has a $12 billion hole to fill over the course of 2 years. And Jersey City, likewise, has a new, very progressive mayor who has also come into office and discovered that the proverbial cupboard is bare. I think a $200 million hole, and is green bloody around. Mr. Vander, nice to see you. So this is something, you know, the power of the council, like the power of the BOE, is our biggest power is to set the budget. And so this is what's going to occupy a lot of people's time and throughput, and just know that it is being handled maturely, let's say. One thing about this, one change that you may hear about, is that there has been, through a memorandum, you know, through an action by the manager, after some careful study involving an outside consultant, quite serious outside consultant, has changed up the staffing nature of the fire department. The fire department is one of the biggest cost centers in our government, right? It's about $20 million, very large. In truth, much more expensive than a lot of other places of our type. There's a lot of back and forth about whether we, how much we spend and all this kind of stuff, and people will, trade numbers and statistics, and you can choose your own statistics there. I would just say it's a very large piece of money. It is driven by the way we staff, which is and it's a very complicated thing, and I read some of the report and some of the documents and tried to understand it, and I quickly reached the end of my, it was hard. But fundamentally, what it works out to is that the number of people who are on staff is going to be, we're recognizing that the head count that we have of about 70 is appropriate for the town, and we just need to fit that to the equipment that we have, which means that one truck, I believe, will be quote unquote browned out. We won't be trying to keep one apparatus that we have always on so that there's always extra people there, but everything will be absolutely, we will remain safe, and we will be looking at what are called automatic aid agreements with other municipalities that are nearby. So there are things that are called mutual aid and automatic aid, and fundamentally it just means that we are a town that you can drive across in 5 minutes. We're surrounded by other things. There was a fire up on Norwood Avenue across the street from where I live. Some years ago, you may remember, I think 6 different municipalities were represented on my block within the space of 15 minutes. So we are all working together. But that, you may hear about that. There is a difference of opinion on it, but I would just say that it's a managerial decision of trying to basically get the most of our money, and it is not some dramatic change that's going on. While we're on that, I would just also say there's these similar discussions about the third firehouse that we have in town. My position on this is that, and I can talk a little more about the facilities that we have in general in this issue of town hall, but maybe I'll let somebody leave with some questions, or let Bill talk about it. But fundamentally, we don't have a good long-term home for our police department. And my attitude, or my line, my mantra is, before we worry about having 3 stations for the fire department, I want 1 for the police station, for the police department. And we don't have it yet. So that is the thing. I believe everybody is perfectly safe in town right now, and people should not scaremonger about that. Another piece of news that I think has gotten less coverage and less excitement and less gnashing of teeth than it probably even deserves is we've had an issue with our IT. So we have a new IT solution, which is that instead of having an in-house manager, we have a firm that's taking care of it. When that firm came in, that firm alerted us to the fact that, as with our buildings, and you can see in this building, all the buildings that we have, that haven't necessarily always been maintained as much as they could. Our IT systems were not maintained, even after the terrible cyber attack that we suffered, which led to the payout of more than $500,000 in ransom, which we did not pay, all of it. But we pay premiums, and it's like if you crash your car, your premiums go up. Even after that happened, we didn't fix everything that should be fixed, and we have a ton of what I would say is deferred maintenance to the tune of about $2 million. And so, these are big numbers, and that one, happily, the manager found out a way to stretch that over 5 years. I mean, we have to pay. It's what it is, and I quizzed this new group of people very hard. I treated, I went into a room and closed the door, and I have a little bit of a background in this stuff, and faked it a little bit to try to make sure that they were you know, that they were being real, and it is real. We have to pay the piper, and it really is just like you didn't fix the roof, and then you have to pay for the roof and it stinks. But that's where we're at, and again, people are not as upset about that. The other big thing that is going on in town is Lackawanna Plaza, as I said. So everybody just take time to, if you don't want to have a position, if you don't want to know, whatever, but just know that the process is moving along. Now, I was elected like everybody else on the council, except for Councilor Harrison, who didn't run in 24. Actually, except for former Councilor Lockton. I was sitting there and deserves a round of applause for her service. In the hottest seat in the council. Basically everybody except Carmel ran on sharing non-tax revenue, the pilot revenue with the schools. That's a complicated thing, which if I can talk about, whatever, I'll just briefly say that the financial agreement that was the first reading was passed last night. You know, we are trying to set up a situation at least to figure out how in the future the township does not just hoard that money and importantly does not allow that money to corrupt the finances of the town. And that sounds like a hard word, and I don't mean it like illegally. I mean that it's kind of like oil money in a poor country when it just pumps in and it leads, or gambling money in Atlantic City. It leads to weird behavior. We will have a pilot. I don't like pilots. I think that everybody should just pay the taxes that the tax assessor hands you the bill for. This is a very special project that has existed from a long time ago, before I moved to town, 11 years ago. I think it was just getting started. And there's a very special series of asks that the town has made of the developer, most importantly to have a supermarket, which otherwise wouldn't probably be the part of anything. So we have a pilot, and just know that that is happening. So it's like now or never if you have an opinion. Although that said, maybe it'll go on for another 10 years. Who knows? The municipal building program, as I said, there's a meeting next Tuesday. I could show you slides later on if people want to stay and we can look at it, but basically we are circling around 4 or 5 different possibilities. I'll name them very quickly. One is to build a giant citadel of a beautiful thing at Lackawanna Plaza, taking over part of that plot for tens of millions of dollars and probably spending, we need about 50,000 square feet or a little less depending. We figured out it's about $1,000 a square foot for a government to build, because we have to build at prevailing union wages with a lot of red tape. So that means $50 to $70 million there. One possibility, I'm not necessarily for that. One possibility is to, we basically have to vacate, at least for a while, the police station that we have. Because it would be renovated if we were going to do something with it, and we're most likely not going to have parking there, because the parking lot behind the police station where they have is most likely going to be taken by a substation that is desperately needed for public service in order to provide us continuity of electricity in town. I was in Glen Ridge on Monday and they were telling me that there's a new substation that was built there, and in Bloomfield, like it needs to be done. So one possibility is, so the police station needs to move, for at least a while, is to build a new police station up by where Town Hall is now and renovate or build a new version of Town Hall there. Also very expensive, whatever. Another possibility is to do a hybrid nearby on some of the lands owned by Immaculate Conception in there. Also new builder using some of that building. There's a list of these things. My personal favorite, and we don't want to tip our hands and be the equivalent of running into the New York Stock Exchange saying I want to buy 1 billion shares of IBM, but I do like the idea of the Mill Social Service Building, which is next door to our library, a historic building, which basically the cheap and cheerful version of it. And then there may be some other things. We'll go through those. That's where we're at right now. It also may end up moving relatively quickly, but I think in a good way, and it won't be in a way that's trying to hide anything. We've been very, very open. Street safety. I have a list of the items that people have brought to my attention. I would preface this by saying that counselors are lawmakers, and we're not engineers, and we shouldn't pretend to be engineers. So when somebody brings us a suggestion or says that we have a problem, like, you know, right here, which was fixed, or when they put it in, a stop sign at the corner of Lorraine and Norwood, or at the corner of Northview and Cooper. We're in a difficult situation, and I don't want us to be driving the process, because it is something that the experts need to opine on. What we're supposed to be doing, and what we need to do, is get answers for people. Whether the answers people and figure out how the process is working. So I have a list of things that I keep that goes to what is called the Complete Streets Oversight Board. It is a board that was set up over the past year under the new ordinance, which is called the Complete Streets Ordinance, which just means that we're going to try to make every street complete, and complete means that it's safe for motorists, or I should say pedestrians, cyclists, people on wheelchairs, and cars, and bicycles and cars. And obviously our streets are not all that way. So, but this list, if people want to see it, if people want to advocate, just write to me or call me up and I will add stuff. I'm not going to go through what's on here. If people want to later talk about it, we will do that. It's a difficult thing. It's a very, very difficult thing. And I will talk about one specific thing here and go off script. So it's very hard because, like, street design, especially if you're interested in things like bike lanes and whatnot, you can't just do a little at once. You have to think about the whole pie, but then the whole thing is changing as you're doing it. So we have to give a little grace to the people who are trying to design it. It's monstrously expensive to change a street. It's monstrously bureaucratic. Often involves environmental review and all this kind of stuff. It moves very, very slowly. And it is a system that is also involves a lot of study over time that can be very frustrating. So we have right now winding up is something called a Safe Streets for All SSFA action plan program, where a group that is being paid a couple of $100,000 is coming up with a plan that shows their recommendations of all the changes that we should do in what order. That means what should be a four-way stop sign, what should have a signal, where curbs should be bumped out so that people are walking less across of the street, and all these kinds of things. I've only seen a little draft of it. They are also doing, as part of this, some demonstration projects. The demonstration projects are, there's sort of one per ward. One was going to be right here, but it's not. It's going to be a crosswalk. These are temporary demonstration projects. This will happen probably before the next time we get together. One of them is controversial, and I'm just going to be very open about this, because they presented it, and the sort of the Safe Streets activist consultant people who are kind of one, and they're very altruistic, very trying to do the right thing. You know, these are really good people. They like the idea of bike lanes, which I do too. I think people should be on bikes if it's possible. My job as a politician, as a legislator, it is the art of the possible. What is possible? It is to take, everybody's opinions and figure out, try to take an ivory tower idea and make sure that it works, right? So you can see where I'm going with this probably, which is that they came to us with a plan for a demonstration project for bike lanes on Park Street that would run from Lorraine Avenue to Gordonhurst Avenue. And you're wondering why it stops. My first question is, well, why would you stop at Gordonhurst? And they were like, well, we can't really get near County Road, which is Watchung Avenue, it's a county road. And I'm like, oh, okay, that makes, because once we get up to it, then we have to talk to them, it's this, and all right, fine. So, then I see a drawing of what it is, we're talking about it, and it's on both sides of the street. And I'd already steeled myself thinking I'm going to be the bike guy, and I'm going to go knock on people on Andrew Lacey's door. And I'm going to say, Andrew, I've got good news and bad news. And the bad news is you may not have parking on your side of the street anymore. Good news is that there'll be a bike lane, there'll be kids riding, and it'll be a great new day, and the Tony's Brook will run with chocolate milk, and it's going to be a great day. We'll get some good into that. Their version of it had lanes on both sides of the street. And I said, what are you doing? You know, it's one thing, I will go get yelled at by people and chased off of front yards telling people that they should accept having no parking on their side of the street. But their concept was, well, the reality that they said was, you can't have a two-way bike lane. You don't have a wide enough street to do a bike lane that goes both directions. And I said, well, can't you just fudge it? And they were like, no, these are the state rules. Again, these are good people trapped within a thing, and I'm like, it is a 36-foot wide street. And they were like, well, it's a temporary demonstration. And I said, I'm going to look into the camera. You know, I'm not being a bad guy. I'm just trying to do what is achievable and real and sensible is that you cannot just get rid of on-street parking. You can't, even in a place where people have long driveways. It's not really going to work. So I just asked, I said, what does this demonstrate? It's going to demonstrate that we can't have bike lanes. And so I don't know where they're at right now. This is all in good faith, but I don't want people to be cynical. I want people to be accepting that this is difficult. We are tied in with rules, government rules, that are sometimes nonsensical, that a bike lane needs to be 8 feet wide or whatever it is. And that's what it is. So it's a difficult thing. We're working with it. Now, you want to talk about that?
No, I just wanted to say, it might be important to say that this study is grant funded.
Yes, it's grant funded. Yes.
Our pockets. It's coming out of our pockets through the state,
It is.
but not directly.
Yeah, it's coming out of a different pocket, right? If you're a big taxpayer in New Jersey, you're paying for it.
Yeah.
Speaking of strange rules and regulations, I will mention the sidewalk wars. Sorry. Hi, Frank. Oh, good to see you, Frank. Frank Rubacki. Everybody give a hand.
Does he have to-
Yeah, you're right.
So, I owe Frank money. How much? $3,000? $5,400. I don't have it with me. I have candies up there. So what we're talking about here is that some members of the community got citations for sidewalks. And because the standards were changed, there's a belief, not wholly unfounded in my opinion, that a mistake was made and therefore people are owed compensation. This is a very difficult issue, right? So I don't know exactly the chain of what happened there, but fundamentally the standard changed and people could feel aggrieved. I could say, if you wanted to accept this analogy, I would be most grateful and the town's coffers would be grateful. The analogy would be that there used to be a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit in America, and then one day it was 65. And there was a day when somebody got a ticket for going over the 55-mile-an-hour limit, and the next day it was 65. And they could have said, well, what did you do here? And it's a slightly similar situation. Frank, yeah, go look. All right. I had to try.
Well,
Okay.
that's not similar. There are people that spend thousands of dollars because somebody, I don't want to say anything more, but the fact that people in my neighborhood spend collectively $20,000 to fix situations because somebody zealously went around handing out violations, to then have insult added to injury, that those violations were not violations because they were dealing with new sidewalks that should be put in and not existing sidewalks. It is outrageous. I'll stop there.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with you. So the standard that was applied was a standard that was for new construction. And it was, I have seen, again, I don't know the chain of how that was communicated to the code enforcement, which, if you haven't heard this speech before, people should know is a quasi-autonomous part of the government, right? We fund it, we manage the personnel roster and stuff like that, hire a lot of people, but they are insulated not only from the council, obviously, but from the manager because of things like, I know a guy who, needs a lighter touch. So the council and the management was never really in control of that. I have seen, I would show it to you, I don't have it. I've seen a state guideline slide deck that showed the 1/4-inch standard without it saying it was new construction. And I don't know if that's why they went that route, but to cut to the chase, I am a believer that there should be compensation. I don't know exactly. It's difficult. It's a very difficult thing to do, but I have started work on a piece of legislation. I have communicated, the manager would have to be the person or his designee to, I'm looking at my phone because I'm going to read a text. If I'm not overstepping by doing this. Said, compensation very difficult. This is very difficult because it involves discretion. And it's hard to go back and find out, whose sidewalks were perfect. I said, and we should include street trees, and I fully understand that both discretionary, any legislation would be discretionary enough to limit claims, to not become a legal morass or a management time suck. And basically the conversation where this is going is that people want to try to do something, but it's very difficult to write the legislation. I shouldn't have gotten into this stuff. But he did say, common sense legislation is not so common, but I'm here to assist. Let's work on it. So we're going to work on it. Save the bills. I will say, these are assets that depreciate. They tend to need to be replaced anyway, over time. If somebody's was like this, and they can prove it, that's compelling. There are ones that were like this. Now our standard, it's very, very difficult. Our standard is now 1 inch. 1 inch, you can break your leg on 1 inch. So this is really, really hard.
But there's also still sidewalks in the first ward that are like 8 inches that weren't touched.
And
So
it
that
is
on hold?
absolutely
they're
maddening.
not passable.
It is maddening that code enforcement is not handled the way you would think it should be. Again, we talked about government in general. It is not just us. Government does things that are weird. The crenellation of weird regulations that pile on top of each other so people can't even keep track of them. And one of them is that it's apparently against the rules to just go around looking for the big problems. I don't know how. I would love to find out that doesn't work. In any case,
Sorry, let's go back to that. Is it against the rules to go around looking for problems with the sidewalk?
I was told that would be considered selective enforcement.
Okay, so
I would love that not to be true.
my question is, when the council reviewed the sidewalk ordinance back in March of 25, because it was defective, they went through a 2-month process to correct it. And as soon as they came out of that 2-month process, Upper Montclair, your ward, our ward, got blasted. You could pick the streets, as you know. Upper Mountain, we went to Park Street. Park Street got blasted, dirty. We finished up with Gordonhurst.
Yes.
Talk about selective enforcement. What happened was, they rolled out a program from north to south. They went to streets where they had one issue, and they walked the entire block or blocks and started picking people out. So my issue is, it's not difficult. This is not legislation. This is rulemaking. Just like the manager can do certain things and reorganize the fire department, all you have to do as a body is say, we want a policy to compensate people that got screwed. And you figure it out, Mr. Marks. Tell us what it is, fine, but you figure it out. Make the rules like you changed the rules from 1/4 inch to an inch. And by the way, Mr. Marks only changed that for Montclair streets. He didn't have the power to change it for Grove Street. He didn't have the power to change it for Mount Hebron. He didn't have the power to change it for Watchung because they're county roads. And county roads get their authorization and their standard from the state, as everybody in the state does. That's why everybody has to follow the same standard or work around the standard. So I don't accept any of that at all. It's a simple fact. And for my situation, I was lucky. I don't have any street trees. I had sidewalks that have been around for over 100 years. Okay? And I was smart enough to videotape my sidewalk before I had to make the repairs. And it was pretty much as good as you get in this town. And if Mr. Marks can't figure out that in these cases, that, okay, this is a no-brainer. There's time sucks over here, and I'm sorry it's a time suck for it. But we're gonna pay more to fix our sidewalks than we're gonna pay for the tax increases for that school debacle. Okay? And we had to pay it all at once. It wasn't spread out over 4 quarters. We didn't get a heads up it was coming. I got the violation on X date. I had 60 days or 90 days to fix it. And the contractor wasn't going to give me terms. So, you know what? You want to talk about real? That's real. That's anger. That's my anger. And there's a lot of people in this ward that have that anger. And you guys need to face up to it quickly. And lastly, I sent you guys an email when you first started doing this. Back in the spring, it was like May 1st. And I said, this is going to be a problem. This is going to get away from you. You guys need to get out in front of it. And I copied, I think, Marks, and I copied people on the committee for one of the councils, and it basically got ignored. So you dug the hole, you got to backfill it and fix it. That's as simple as it gets. And I don't want to hear about anything else until you guys can get your act together and come up with a solution.
Well, the solution is, I mean, I'm going to write, and I've got another member of the council here, so maybe we have 2 votes. I want to write an amendment. I think it has to be code, because it should involve the street trees too. And this right here is a list of some of the other towns and what they do to split the cost or pay for the cost. Wayne, Somerville, Livingston, there's a cost share program. Roselle Park, Milburn.
Livingston allows asphalt now. That's their workaround.
Yeah, Rutherford.
So let's asphalt Mountainside Park. Like, we've done one side, we might as well do the other side.
So in any case, I'm for this. I don't sense a lot of support among other members of the body, but I don't want to
You
through
know
them.
what? The third firehouse, we're going to spend $3 million for that firehouse that we don't need.
We're not.
Because there's support for it. And I think, you know what?
Exactly.
This is not good for you. This is not a good look at all. I'm sorry.
Well, look, I'm against that. I said it before, and I'm putting in something here. So there's 7 of us. I will do it. I also want to include this. I mean, there was somebody else on the council who tried to take ownership of this process, let's say, who didn't do anything, so I will do it. That's it.
Well, give me more than 3 minutes and I'll do it with the council.
I'll do it with you tomorrow.
Eric, I want to add a somewhat different perspective on this because I also had to change my sidewalk. But I lived here for 10 years, and when I bought the house, the sidewalk was up. So I feel like I owe this to my community already. But what I feel the township owes me in this situation is to investigate the code enforcer. Because he was giving out this paper with the people we should call, and you get an estimate from those guys, and it's $600 a slab. My neighbor got an estimate from her guy who had to still get bonded with the town, and he bought for us, and there was $210 a slab. And this code enforcer went down Gordonhurst, which was our street, and it fined everyone. So it was great. We all got together, and we did it together. But it appears that that's irregular. The other thing that he did that I think is highly irregular is that he tried to convince me to ask to have the tree removed. He's basically offering to remove trees, which is against town ordinance. And one of our neighbors said, yes, sure, remove this over 100-year-old beautiful oak. So we lost one of the most beautiful trees, completely irreplaceable in our street. And a few other trees that weren't, such a huge loss, but it's still a loss. And I think that at this point, the town owes to us to investigate this guy. And I need to ask, what do you need to do to lose a job around here? And plant some trees. We want our trees back. Ultimately, I'm happy I got to fix my sidewalk. But it's highly upsetting that he can do this and keep his job.
Look,
I just want to say, it's an interesting perspective. Thank you very much. There are individuals that are eroding the quality of the life of the citizens that live in this town for a variety of different reasons. There are individuals that are criminal in their intent when it comes right down to it. And if there's one person that was doing this enforcing, going around our neighborhood and doing this and spray painting, lose his job, he should be held culpable for the cost that we incurred. And then, I'm going to say one more statement, because I've heard this in so many different places. This situation that we have about the schools, and the fact that there's an individual who people would like to see imprisoned or go to jail. The fact that I'm not aware of any action that's being taken against an individual that's caused a town of 38,000 people to rack their brains over a school situation. So this enforcer is like a low-level criminal, whereas this woman, who's no longer here, should be on the FBI most wanted list. This is absurd that we live in this house. I didn't come to this meeting with an agenda. I really wasn't coming. I just want to stop and say hello to Eric. And then I saw my friend Liz, and I stayed, and then this topic came up about the sidewalk. This town is a mess. I'm the most optimistic person that many people have ever met. So, Eric, it's really, it's embarrassing. And it's, you're not, it's not you, but it's an embarrassing situation to represent.
if you know me personally, which I think many of you do, the issues, the problems of accountability in government is my obsession, and I yell in the shower about it. Let's just say, especially the way most people's lives are, if you're in the private sector and you mess up, you're out in 15 minutes. In fact, if they have a bad quarter, your email doesn't work and your key to get into the building doesn't work. And sometimes with government, it really does feel like, short of like killing and eating the children or the people like on the block, you can't get rid of somebody, or it never happens. We did not invent that problem, and I am with you 100,000%, and the language that I just used, I think, should indicate that. This has been very difficult for me, and I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me. You can watch the tape about the original sidewalk stuff, And my reaction and my questioning about it, why did this happen? Who is responsible? On the schools, as a person who was involved in creating the school district that we have now, you can only imagine what I feel that there are still. It's not only that the person who oversaw some of the finances left for another job, making very good money.
Do we have legal rights to go after that person and sue them?
I'm not sure, but there are people who were involved in it who are still employed by the district. This is a problem across, and I'm not going to say it's a Jersey problem only, but basically we have worked into this situation where there is a lack of accountability. We didn't create the problem. Is it worse here than it is across the border to the south or to the west or to the east? I don't know. My guess is that if you drive somewhere west, it probably gets better. I don't know for sure, but it is something that eats me up narrowly. Frank, I will do this. You have my pledge. There will be an ordinance, and you can come, and I will clear it with you if it's good or not. It's tough with the street trees. We have to pick what looks good, and then it is going to be subject to funds available. And there will be a painful process in there. But if anybody feels that, what? Yes.
That corruption of government.
That is
Why does everything have to be painful? Why?
Didn't the town admit they made this mistake
we need,
last year?
we do that question at Tierney's, okay, later on.
The town said they made a mistake after we picked up our sidewalk for no reason and put it back down. 100-year-old stones, very preciously, so that we didn't break them because we wanted to maintain the aesthetic of the neighborhood. And we were given a, we don't have the money option. So we deserve to be paid back.
Look, I'm one of 7. You got one more here, right? I'm one of 7. I will write.
How long is this gonna take?
It'll take, it's 20 days between readings, and then it comes into force in 20 days after that.
As long as you do it before we get the tax increase for the schools, I'm good.
All right. So I have a pledge.
Is the enforcer still employed by the town of Monmouth?
I have no idea.
Well, can you find out for that? I mean, that, I think, is a real issue.
I will do what I can.
And to file our sidewalks with spray paint, and then handed out these threatening notices that, it's not right. I'm so sorry, but it's just not right. And you don't know who that person was? Is that true? I really want to know that. You don't know the name of that person?
No, and look, I'm trying to be.
Can you find that out?
I have to walk between being perfectly honest and then, look, I have, there are theories, but it is irresponsible for me to pass on something that is basically, I don't know is true. A dark thought, right? That's not my job. It's my job not to do that. It's my job not to just be unfiltered. And I'm an unfiltered guy, you know me. So that is not me. I mean, I'm supposed to be judicious and not say more than I know. And not get us sued, by the way, because $1 million, you can write a check for $1 million in an afternoon with an employee lawsuit, easily.
Eric, this is very important, and the audience really wants to hear it, but it's 9 o'clock, and there are other things on the agenda. So can we move on?
Well, that's fine, we can move on, but
Then let's do
we
it.
can take up a whole council meeting about another ward issue. But when we have a first ward issue that affects literally hundreds of people, hundreds of thousands of dollars, I think that should be the top of the list. What are we going to do for the first ward? Because I'm kind of tired of people saying, oh, the first ward doesn't have to do this, the first ward doesn't get this. Everybody points to the first ward and said, we get favorable treatment. I don't think we get favorable treatment. I think we got screwed in a really big way, and it's probably the biggest issue that we've had this year in the first ward. that is more specific.
I think that that's totally fair. You have my pledge that there will be legislative language at the next meeting.
And I
Kathleen,
think-
so-
I think
Yep.
because you heard what I said at the last council meeting
Yes.
about this, that you should be ashamed. And that everybody should follow Frank's example and hand in their receipts.
Yes.
But I am appalled that, not you, because I recognize those on the council who are sympathetic, but the council at large has not in any way addressed an apology or any action until this, what you were saying tonight, which comes from you and not from the council. And as far as I'm concerned, the person who is most egregiously guilty is the mayor, who is in charge of the council and who should be ashamed and should be impeached.
I don't think you can impeach, but
Well, I don't think you can impeach her, but I certainly won't vote for her, and I will urge anybody else not to, especially watching the way she runs a council meeting.
okay.
Can we keep going?
So anyway, Kathleen, I agree we should move on. That was actually the last item, except for a small one, which is that people have been posting and are worried about the wildlife because of the deep freeze. And I went and ordered, by mistake, 2 bird bath warmers. I have an extra one that's coming tomorrow. And if anybody wants to do the right thing and keep some water in their bird bath warm, that was literally, it's on there, see, bird bath. So that is the last item. Now, if people would like to talk and ask questions.
Yeah, I have a question. You mentioned that work was going to be starting soon on the senior center,
Yeah.
which I believe will be within the municipal building for the time being. My understanding is that the space that was allocated for that, or hypothetically allocated, was not found to be sufficient for the needs of the senior group. And I'm wondering what's being done to right-size this, given that they've been waiting for months, years, for progress in this and getting pushed out of the social agencies building and now finding a roost somewhere in the municipal building. But I'm interested in knowing how much space is being allocated, has it been remediated from what was insufficient? And approximately when is this work supposed to start?
I mean, I think the work is about to start immediately.
What does about mean? Does that mean
Like, I think that
March?
there are dumpsters that are at town hall right now. They're going to start construction.
Imminent, okay.
Imminently. But I mean, I'll get back to you on that. So this one was, there was a plan to have it in the in the Mills building, what we call the Mills building. The landlord of the Mills building, the owner of the Mills building, did not want to do it for a variety of reasons. I am a believer that this is a very good solution. And I will tell you why. Because we got money to do it at town hall from the state. That is, we're putting a little bit of money, but it is being paid for. We don't actually know what the demand and what it looks like. There will be a several-year thing, and again, it's not like we're spending our own money and then moving out of there, and with money gone bad. We will find out the best way to do it. The best way to do government is that it's a series of experiments. That sounds like bullshit, but it's true. And this is gonna work out. It's gonna be good. The size it's bigger than what was there before. It'll be 3,000. It'll be the size of a small house. It'll be the size of a house. I think that this is a case where people should not try to make the perfect the enemy of the good. And that is from the heart.
Will this
Media
be
question.
published anywhere?
Huh?
Can the update on the senior center be published someplace?
Yes, I will make a note of that. Sure. I mean, they have an interest in doing that, yeah.
Quick media question. Can you publicly say the name of the current owner and manager of the Mills building, who you said does not want to do this?
It's owned by the Placek Family Foundation.
Okay,
Which
just
is-
wanted to clarify.
And it is, they took it on as a philanthropic endeavor, and it's a very complicated project. It always was, so I don't think that there's anything weird and nefarious, and there was some issue with the space, from what I remember, there was a physical issue with it, and then also an issue with the long-term thing with the building. So that's
Yeah, I
that's
just
what
wanted to
know.
clarify status of
Yeah.
ownership, that's all.
Right.
Regarding the IT situation, what's the term for the firm that they're contracting with? And are they actively looking to replace the IT director?
So that's a good question. So there, as a professional services thing, I think that they are limited. We re-up. I don't know, but it's a 5-year rollout of the changes, and that we're not tied to them as our outsourcer for that period of time. That is a period of time in which we cycle all the equipment, and they are acting as our IT director. And I will tell you that I support that, even if it were to cost a little bit more, because the in-house solution apparently didn't really work. And it's not necessarily a nefarious thing. It's that if you think about it, it's a highly specialized thing, and it's hard to supervise. If you don't, in other words, like, how does somebody who's not technical in background easily oversee an employee who is to be doing the technical work? So I personally am very comfortable with having a well-regarded firm as act as the IT brains of the township, at least for the time being. And I will also say that when we had an outage, not related to anything that they were doing, but the legacy stuff, that they were there in apparently 20 minutes at night. Like, it was, like, they seemed to be have a lot of mojo.
That's fine, but you need to have a local IT person, and you can have a managed service to handle, those situations and projects. But so there's no active plan to replace the IT director?
That I do not know. I don't know, but I would say that I told the manager, this seems like a good situation, don't rush. That's what I said. But it's very hard to know.
Since you on the topic, you mentioned earlier, there's a $2 million infrastructure upgrade that needs to be performed, you said, the consultants
Something like that.
recommended. So what is the timetable for that approximately?
It is about 5 years. It's in the resolution that was published last night, and there's a report which should not be considered, a state secret. It's not great. I mean, it's tons of very expensive switching equipment. It's in multiple locations. So this is
So it's
not
going to
just
be
town
phased
hall.
in over time?
Yes, it's not just town hall.
So,
Holly.
just on that, was that a question of misrepresentation about what was being done to the prior council, or lack of oversight of the prior council that they never repaired anything after the breach?
Take your pick. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I mean, we have Spiller lingering out there still running for stuff, so is this on him or not on him?
I mean, sure. I mean, I guess. Yeah.
Do you want me to jump in and
Yeah.
get yelled at as well?
Please, where were you 5 minutes ago?
I wasn't there.
Okay.
The problems predate the Spiller administration. It's not, this has been a massive failure of the town, of the Board of Education. We did the $180 million bond issue for the town, much of which was to repair crumbling buildings. It's just the town has gone on, and collectively, Board of Education, and just not fixed things. If you looked at the wiring for the IT infrastructure, it was something that from decades ago, and no one seemed to care. Put it off for the next council, let them worry about it, and just a lot of expenditures that should have been made, and we're paying the price for it. Because, the breach, where you can point to the Spiller Council is, you had a massive breach, and someone should have said, what the hell are we going to do so this never happens again? And what other problems exist? And nothing was done. And to follow up on what Eric said on in-house IT, I mean, I've worked for relatively small governmental and private organizations. You just can't keep yes, you need someone there, but those people just can't keep up with what's happening with IT these days. It just changes so quickly. You have someone there, and they're there for 5 years, and the technology is just past where they are. So, yes, we need someone in-house, but not really as you would conceive the way an IT director was functioning, because they should have been saying, gee, we have really all this outdated equipment. We need to do something. And they just don't have the expertise to know this is what you do. And I think the firm we retained is going to do it. You know, it's going to start now, but it's going to take a long time because we're just so far behind with letting the town literally crumble as I look at the ceiling on our heads. And we need to do something. And the problem is it's happening at the worst possible time because of the schools, because of the health costs. But we can't say, okay, let's pass it on. We're just here for another 2.5 years, or me, just a few more months, and let the next council worry about it.
But you'll run.
That would mean my getting a divorce. Not my idea of the divorce.
Here's your news lead. Yes, so I want to allow members of the Upper Montclair Business Association to discuss the topic that I mentioned at the top about, just give them a few minutes to talk about a project that I can't talk about because it's coming before the planning board. Holly, did you, or Arlene?
Let me start. If that's okay.
Maybe you should just come up here and very quickly, because I see other people have other things. Explain, Holly.
Hi, Holly Felver. I own Barber Eclectic at 594 Valley Road. We just celebrated 50 years in business in Upper Montclair. And one of the things that the Upper Montclair Business Association is concerned about is that there are a couple different things happening in the NC, Neighborhood Commercial Zone, that will fundamentally change the character of our business district. One of them is changing a traditional retail store to a physical therapy practice. That is in Athleta, the old Gap space. And these are things that I don't think the general public knows about because there's been absolutely no coverage anywhere about them. The second is that the Chase drive-through has been approved for demolition, which I was told today will start in 2 weeks. So that will be demolished. There is a proposal to put a swim school on that location. And I think it's something that people don't know about. There's a very modern concept of the look of the building with lights on all 3 sides of the building that face Valley Road. We can go into more detail, but I think everyone needs to know how this will change our beautiful historic neighborhood. We also have concerns about traffic, about lack of parking. Come on up, Arlene.
So my name is Arlene. I own Nouvelle, where the old Murph's was. And I've been in town for 15 years because I'm half consignment, half new, and our consignment. Louder? Okay.
No one's ever said that.
So I own Nouvelle and One Savvy Design. I'm in the old Murph's building. I've been in town for 15 years. I was on the board for the bid for a while, and I merged my 2 stores 6 years ago here in Upper Montclair. I'm part of the board for the Upper Montclair Business Association, which most people don't even know what UMBA, it's our acronym, means. And so it's the Upper Montclair Business Association, which is funded only by the businesses. We are trying to work with the town to see if we could possibly get grants, but when you see the flower pots, those are paid by us business owners, and it's not every single business in Upper Montclair who participates. When you see the tree lighting and those gift baskets, it's my staff putting it together. It's me decorating the trees. It's Holly helping me. No. I just want people to understand what the business association does. Mark helps us with things. Holly, Polly, Suzanne. So we are all a community-based organization. We care about what goes on here in town. So when things are not publicly made knowledge, it's important for us to now express to you so that you can spread the word, because apparently it's not on any billboard anywhere in town. So they want to put in a orthopedic rehabilitation in the athletic space. This is a zone where Keller Williams was not allowed to have a storefront because it has to be retail. So how is this orthopedic facility going to drop off patients on Valley Road, go in, pick up, drop off, create congestion, and then they're going to be closed halfway Saturday because they close early, so it's not going to look or attract people to our area. It's really, really important. My suggestion for the stores that are under renovation is for them to put up a sign in their window so it can create excitement, not just, and you know, I went through with Saunders when they first shut down and it was boarded up. I was really concerned because it just makes the town look like it's falling apart. But there's so many things happening, and I have people constantly coming into my store asking me what's happening. I'm like, I promise you, Jackie's is going to the old stationery, you know, the old sushi place, you know, Mercado is expanding into there, so that it gives people hope that our town is not falling apart. And it's extremely important as a community that we all share the same vision. So this is a very quaint little village. So to accept certain businesses, it's just going to change the dynamic of the landscape, and it's not going to create that vibe that we have up here. It's very sweet up here. We're not a hustle and bustle area. It's just, you can stroll. You don't have to worry about getting hit by a car when you cross the street. It's a little bit different up here than it is downtown. So with that being said, the swim school is going into the old Chase building. They want to knock it down. I'm not opposed to the business. They were sitting in the historic meeting, and they were supposed to come back to the historic meeting with a new plan of how they were going to look and conform to what Upper Montclair looks like. That got bypassed. Don't know how. Then all of a sudden, they were supposed to go into the zoning board meeting, and that got bypassed. They apparently spoke to somebody, and now I don't even know where it is, but Eric can't speak about that.
I can.
Okay.
They will be at the planning board meeting. So the project was able to bypass a return to the Historic Preservation Committee, bypass the zoning board, and now they've been pushed right to the planning board meeting scheduled for February 23rd. They will be second on the agenda, so they may not get to it because the other project is 260 Park Street, which will be a long conversation. But we're concerned that there's a lack of transparency, that things are happening without the public knowing.
Okay.
Wait,
I'm just,
can I have to finish. I have to, please, Eric, I beg you.
well, like,
No.
I got people on
I'm
the phone.
sorry. So I just want to explain. So what's happening is, instead of the building being pushed back and having the entrance in the front, they want to have 30 cars coming in for a class, 30 cars exiting from the class that just left to go into the Montclair Plaza. It's parking lot. It's not physically possible for this to happen. The congestion, where are people going to walk, it doesn't make sense. So they are proposing the driveway to go through the back instead of through the front. The other concern is the fire station. How is the fire station that already has trouble with the St. James preschool, okay, and the parents dropping off and picking up, how are they going to be able to get in and out of the fire station? So I'm not against a business coming into town. It has to be in the right place. Swim schools are usually on Route 3 where the Kohl's is. That's a huge parking lot. They are off of every single highway. They are not in small village communities. So I'm against it for that particular reason. If it gets passed, then I think that their development of how their building is should be reconfigured, where it does not go into a parking lot, where their exit goes onto Valley Road, making a right going towards the supermarket. That's my opinion, and I would urge that if there is another meeting, that all of you would attend and give your opinion about it. But really think about a driveway leading from the school with these amount of kids, 12, so I called and they said they have 12 teachers on for every class. That there's one kid or 2 kids per teacher, 30 kids per class. That's 60 cars. Let's just 30, let's just say 30 cars. How are 30 cars gonna go in to the Montclair Plaza where Polly, who's gonna speak next, has a business? And she sees everything that goes on in that parking space.
Well, hold on, I just want to say, this is, you know,
Sorry.
we have a division of bodies in the town. There are land use boards. So like, just everybody should know, I mean, it's good if you want to put people on blast, but like, we have land use boards. They're very articulated, you know, rules around what they can do, and it's a little baffling. I just went through the thing, but like, you just need to know who is doing what. And you can, you know, this isn't necessarily the place to explain those processes. Some of it involves, you know, parking and you know, street circulation. Some of it doesn't. There are things that end up going to zoning boards and planning boards for different reasons that are not sinister, right? They're just different kinds of, it's complicated, but they're different kinds of variances. So for example, you know, something that nobody has brought up, another thing is that there's an application at the Board of Adjustment for having a convenience store at the gas station at Watchung Plaza. I have nothing to do with that at all because it's at the zoning board. I am on the planning board. There are other committees, and just know that, like you had said, we thought nobody's being noticed. 200, what's called the 200-foot notice goes out to every, it does, it goes,
We never got it.
it does not go to the tenant, it goes to the owner of the building.
But do you all know that this is happening?
But it goes to the owner of the building. So that may be not, you know, you might want it to go better, but that is what the law is. So I just want to say, the most important thing for me is that we follow the law.
Well,
And that, like, no, that's true. I'm not, don't laugh. It's
I'm not
important.
laughing.
It's important. So if anybody has any inkling that the law is being broken or bent, that is what's really important. And the rest of it, you just have to advocate for what you think is right. Now, if you have anything else in particular you want to add. Okay,
thank you.
it's okay. And you can laugh if you want to. but
I wasn't
anything
laughing
say-
at you. No, I
Yeah.
wasn't laughing at you. I was just, it was frustration.
No, I get
Hi, my name is Polly Morozov. I own Ampersand Interior. Sorry, my name is Polly. I own Ampersand Interiors at 40 Upper Montclair Plaza. So my shop faces almost directly the 2 driveways coming in from Valley Road, one by Starbucks, and then on the other side where Romeo's, you know, Taylor and Talbot's used to be. So we get to watch on a daily basis the shenanigans that go back on there with the traffic flow and all that. And I can directly see the drive-through for the Chase Bank. That's supposed to be the swim school coming forward. It is really, I urge anyone just to stand around for a half an hour between 4 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock, and take a good hard look to see what's going on there. The proposal for the swim school is to open up the back end of that property at Chase, open it up so the cars exit onto the Upper Montclair parking plaza at a point where it's the narrowest part of that parking lot. On a good day, people probably have to take 3 or 4 maneuvers to get out of the parking spots right there. No less make a 90-degree turn, sharp turn to get into that parking lot. And what happens is you can only go right, and so it creates this massive congestion as you're coming out towards Bellevue Avenue, at which point it's a 2-way street with a narrow sidewalk with 3 more retail shops coming into the side of the Bellevue Theater. My point being is that you take the number of teachers, students, moms who are going to hang around and drop off their kids and wait for their kids because they're late or whatever. You take that compounded with the fact that these classes are taking place in the afternoons when the kids are out of school, so 3, 4, 5 o'clock. You take the 2 railroad crossings, okay, with the gates coming down, and the cars that pile up that can't get around each other, both on Bellevue, Valley, and all that, is unbelievable. So to Arlene's point, we love having a very full business district and no vacancies. It's great for us. But the idea that you have this high density, high traffic, super hazardous situation with 3 driveways now coming off of Valley Road with pedestrians trying to cross, kids on bicycles, cars not going which way, and just a huge pileup. It is such a safety hazard, both for people driving and walking. And also, I'm just going to add, I used to sit on an adjoining town zoning board, and what I will say is that I'm very concerned that some of the notes from the applicant, they're going above impervious coverage, they're going over 80%. So that basically means you have runoff of water, and that's a downslope from Valley Road to the parking lot. So now they should have had a study for stormwater management when they go above impervious. So that's a zoning, the way I read it, that's a zoning issue? No?
It's a site plan issue.
A site plan issue. But they have to provide that, and I think given the density that we're dealing with here, there should have been a traffic survey, and I'm not sure that that was supplied. And I think the town really, really needs to look at this very carefully before, and I'm not even sure why it didn't go zoning, because I don't believe they have the parking situation under control. And that would
They
be...
need a variance of like 25 spaces.
Right, so where's the variance? So it should stop.
Again, let me do this.
I'm so sorry.
Do it quickly, because there are other,
Yes,
other issues. Because we have land use bodies, and this is terrible. I mean, it's not about me, but it's like, I would like to be able to talk about this, but I can't, and it's very frustrating. And it's very, and you will get to go to the planning board, but the council does not control these things.
There's no meeting.
Okay, there is a meeting.
There was 2 meetings that were supposed to happen.
Arlene, it's...
Okay, let me just do the basics of, if an applicant needs site plan approval, which this does, and it's a permit, and it's been determined to be a permitted use, and I don't want to have that whole discussion, any other variances, parking, setbacks, they live at the planning board. It's only a use variance that goes to the Board of Adjustment. So, and if you want to go off in the back, I can explain in a little detail, but look at the agendas of the planning board, show up, and say what you've said.
I find that the agendas are not published until maybe 2 or 3 days before the actual meeting takes place. It would be beneficial if we had more notice of what's on the agenda.
I'll give you a tip on this. I mean, I'm not sure. They do seem to come out. Our
Willy-nilly.
agendas for the council come out usually for the public 4 days around that. By the way, sometimes that's when I see it. That's a different story. But if you're interested in finding out what's going on in terms of land use, you can look. The planning department does maintain a page with the agendas of things, and there's something called the Development Review Committee, where a lot of these projects, including this one, which is doubly why I can't talk about it, it goes there first, and then it sort of gets a first pass. So you can know months, but look, the key is this. People worry that sometimes things feel like they're moving too fast on this stuff, And let me assure you, things are not moving fast. Things do not move fast in Montclair. Things move slowly on this. Like compared to the rest of the country, when something shows up like, so this 260 Park Street, it has been now, it's in its 4th meeting, I think. Lackawanna Plaza, 10 years. It took 2 years to build the Empire State Building. So like things are actually going pretty slowly. So just know, and you will have more than one opportunity to speak. There will be board professionals who I can assure you are actually quite straightforward. I love the attorney that I work with. Like, these are honest people. They're trying to do the right thing. There are freaky things that go on. This is not really one of them. I'll tell you when I think it is. But you may disagree with it. And your input will be listened to, and people will adjust based on it. The traffic stuff is very difficult. Let's just end on that. I agree. I look around, and I'm going to break the rule. I'm not talking about that one thing because I don't think this breaks the rule. Always keep in mind, if you're worried about a development somewhere, what was there before? Now, what was at that site before? It was a drive-through bay. You're looking at it now as something where nothing is happening. But just a few years ago, there were cars going in and around.
Not 60 cars.
What?
At the same time.
Not at the same time, but there was a constant stream.
That's different. Yeah.
My point is this. Right, don't talk about it.
Yes.
I don't want to talk. Last questions. Did I see back there? Ed.
Comment or a question regarding another matter, and that is the deadline for the New Jersey Transit questionnaires prepared by the council for weekend service, restoration of weekend service to Upper Montclair was January 31st. And I believe the deputy mayor was instrumental in following up on that. Could you find out what the status of the submission of questionnaires to the New Jersey Transit is, and what are the discussions that are going on between New Jersey Transit and the council regarding restoration of weekend service?
I will. She's the person to really talk to on that, and just know, if people don't know, that there was a survey done. I believe as it was going on, there was a sample looked at, and there was strong support for the idea of having weekend service, with obviously some people not agreeing. And that's all I can say. What? Yeah. Deputy Mayor's done the work, and I'll pass on to her that it was discussed. Anybody else? Mariana, did you have something?
Rob had something.
Rob.
I have a really naive question. But like tonight, we've heard about pilots.
Yep.
We've heard about schools not being funded properly. We've heard about school buildings not being maintained, council buildings not being maintained, infrastructure not being maintained. A, where has all the money that has been paid in taxes actually gone? Like, what did I get? What's good? Right? And B, what are we doing to make sure that this doesn't happen again?
Well, look, the budget will be online, like last year's budget is there. I mean, say what you will about the Montclair Council, but like, I believe that we've caught a lot of these problems, certainly this council. Like this IT problem, it sucks. It was a $2 million hole, sort of like kind of comparable to the BOE's problem. It was a deferred thing, but it wasn't a false budgeting move or something like that. So we addressed that problem, and I talked about it last night. It stinks, but I'm glad we know. It's like a health problem. Like, it stinks, but like, it's good to know and to fix the problem. Where does the money go? Look at the budget. Most of it is payroll, benefits, pensions, stuff like that. It is not, and then it's like paving the roads. And by the way, I said it to the Cub Scouts, which was a bigger room, and tough, as I said. And when I said, and they were asking, what did you do? Like, what laws have you passed? And I said, well, yesterday we spent $2 million to have the sewers cleaned out so that it doesn't back up into your basement. The poop doesn't come to the basement. And the kids went wild. They loved that, and the people. So there are things that are happening, and that particular one was a competitive bid. There were 4 or 5 bidders. you know. So there are things that work, don't despair. There are things that don't work, obviously, and we'll work on it. Any other problems?
I just wanted to follow up to that. I think the big black hole about where the money goes is Essex County. We have no idea what they're doing with the
100%
multi-million dollars that we
Shift the
give.
blame to the county.
Well, I'm just saying.
No, I agree.
There's no watchdog from,
Green Acres grant we did last year?
No.
there's no watchdog from the town that keeps the eye
Pool
on
getting
what we're
resurfaced?
spending money
New First
on.
Ward projects?
Why is she?
Wait,
What?
she's
I was
talking.
talking. Yeah, no, all I'm saying is that there's no watchdog from the town who keeps track of what's going on in Essex County. How are we benefiting, where's our money going? So that to me is the big issue. You can go and you can look at Montclair's budget, you understand what they're talking about in the budget, but what's going on in Essex County?
Yeah, we do have a commissioner that lives in town.
I know.
We have a board of ed that does not want a forensic, so don't talk about the county. They don't want a forensic audit.
They do, they're putting it in their budget, in fact.
The town is alone.
They are. Go to the next budget meeting.
The council and the
They
town
are.
administration
You can argue.
cannot
Listen to
get
facts,
a
not
forensic
rumors.
audit done. I know they're supposed to be independent, but nobody believes it. So,
I think there's something to that. Nick?
I mean, it's something that can be done.
Okay, so I don't want to sound cold, but when it comes right down to it, most municipalities, most government
Mariana,
operations.
please.
Okay, I'm speaking from experience. I was the director of a very large department in Macon.
I'm trying to be able to hear it. Mariana, everybody, please. Let Mr. Kennedy speak.
When's the last time ever anyone looked at the table of organization? And if this was the private sector, like you said before, what's the first thing we would have to do? Look at head count. Okay? When we talk about medical benefits going up, what was the percentage? 30%?
30, more than 30.
Okay. So it's one thing if it goes up 30% for, let's say, 350 people, but if it went up 30% for only 300 people, it's going to take a year because it's a public sector. It takes a long time to get rid of people, but you can. And I'm not trying to sound cold.
Right.
Okay. However, I don't know, prior to Mr. Marks, we had several years of very poor management. We're paying the price now. Not only in the municipality, obviously in the Board of Ed too. Two separate entities. So basically we need to do a head count. We need to get rid of some people. The one thing you said that I really loved, we finally decided that the one engine, we're going to let it just, as people retire, people leave, not staff it anymore. I'm in total agreement. We don't need that other firehouse. I've talked to other lieutenants in other towns. Sell that property. Put that towards the new police department. Let's start thinking like a business. And Eric, I just want to defend. He's one person. And in all fairness, we are where we are because of years of mismanagement. And I only met him on the campaign trail, and he's trying to do a great job. And I know you got beat up a little bit tonight.
No, it was totally deserved.
Yeah.
It was 100%. I made a comment about the speed limit. That was ridiculous. I apologize for that. That was dumb. But anyway, the manager is, I think we did a great job. If we've done one thing as a council good, we found a good manager.
Correct.
We have to work to hold on to him. He is looking at the table of organization all the time. He's in early, he leaves late. He is interested. This issue with the fire department, which is very difficult, is the indication that he is tough and that he sees it and he's doing it in a good way. The head count of that organization is now down 20%, thereabouts. I mean, their highs was in the 90s, and now they're going to be locked at 70. We are in contract negotiations, which I definitely cannot talk about, with the patrolmen's union. That's a very hard one. He's being, hard in there, but hard, and our approach with staffing is that we should be paying decently, attracting good talent, but asking of people that they work well and just doing it well, and I think we're in the right direction on that. We just have a lot of accumulated things, and again, as a woman, in the back said, the BOE is a whole separate thing. I think some of those issues, especially the unbudgeted spending, large amounts of unbudgeted spending, we have not really come to fully to grips with the meaning of that, and that is not, we've had problems at the council, but large amounts of money that are spent willfully without a budget is the thing that they will have to work through, and it's quite serious. So if anybody else has anything else, sir.
This might be an unpopular opinion in the room, but I'm going to start out by saying I understand, I like to describe Montclair as the hole that you can never fill with enough money. I get it. I've lived in this town for 25 years. I've also worked for the fire department for 20 years. What you're suggesting to do up down here, everybody should be worried about. And my question to you is, we talk about all this wasted money, right? We lost $1 million on grants we didn't apply properly. I know you read that report, and I would encourage everybody in the room here to read it. The one thing that it suggested is we need more staffing, not less staffing, okay? I live on the northmost cross street in the first ward. Before I left today, I put in Google Maps how long it's going to take for the ladder truck to get to my house. How long do you think it is? 15 minutes, right? We got lights and sirens. Everybody, it's so reckless and dangerous what you're suggesting to do over here, right? And my next question to you.
For the swim school.
You're taking a ladder truck out of service, okay? You've been in town since 2014, right? Is that about right? Yeah. Are you aware, everybody knows the speed humps on Upper Mountain? Yeah. We have one Highland, we have them on another street there. You know what the condition of approving those are? That ladder truck left from this firehouse, not headquarters. There's all these unintended consequences that you haven't considered here.
Yes, that may be the case.
I'm very happy to sit down with you and things that you don't understand, I'll speak of it.
There's a very, very basic issue that needs to cut to the end of this, which is this. This town should not be paying more than other peer towns that do a better job, that get the same or better service. There is no reason why. I grew up in Plainfield, next to Westfield, which is a town like Montclair. Westfield is 32,000 people. It has a fire department of a full-time, maybe 45. Yes, so we pay more. We are paying more.
Plus all the add-ons if we're not.
No. This is the bottom line is that we need to get value for money. We need to do it in a way that makes sense. And it just comes down to that. And you can always have more. You can always have some. Excuse me?
You said you don't think we're going to get sued when something happens? I don't know if it's going to happen.
Okay, so all right, so we'll close the libraries, we'll close the schools, we'll close everything else. So I can have a firehouse on every block.
And I try not to come to them. So I know who everybody in the room is here. You probably don't know me, but I watch it well enough that I know who everybody is here.
Okay.
All right. So it's completely reckless. That's your job. I only show up to these things when what you're doing is so reckless that somebody's going to get hurt or killed.
And I think that we can disagree.
Okay.
We can disagree on that.
What happened in Glen Ridge the other day? You familiar with that fire?
I'm familiar with the fact that the last time there was a lot of pressure on the council to spend more on fire departments. We ended up with a ruinous shared service agreement with Glen Ridge that a member, I don't want to get too hot, I don't need to see that, that a member of the Glen Ridge Council was told me they were ashamed about.
What's it say?
Who negotiated?
What?
Who negotiated?
Our former mayor.
I remember.
Our former mayor who did it so that he would get the support of the FMBA. So listen, yes, so this is it. We want good value for money in every department, in everything that we do. And it's a struggle, but we're going to work on it. And nobody should get a special deal, especially just because they may have some political pull, right?
If you come to the unions and ask for help negotiating?
I'm not negotiating. I'm a council member.
The answer is no, you haven't, right? I don't know if you're aware of this either, but back when the town was having problems, we voluntarily paid into healthcare early.
That's fine, and I appreciate that very much.
The unions are a partner with the town. We're not
I agree 100%.
the way you guys are operating, completely reckless.
I am sorry that you feel that way. But we need to look out for the residents and the taxpayers of this town.
We're talking about the same thing.
I agree. And all I'm saying is that what I would like to be able to do is to be able to look at other peer towns, whatever it is, other peer towns, and learn from them. How are they getting by? And are they doing well? And to try to model that good behavior, whether it's the schools, whether it's the DPW, no matter what it is, whether it's the libraries. We should try to be good. And I believe that we are making progress, and it is not reckless. I don't believe it's reckless.
How many personnel did it say in that report that you paid for that were not following? You need to respond.
This report,
The house that we live in.
this report said we should do exactly what we're doing, sir.
Now, your chair's picking this up. I'll share this report with anybody in the room who wants to read it. Just like every other report that's done, that we spent money on, it's
Okay.
it's asking for more personnel, not less.
It's fine, it's fine.
We're in this boat because we've been asking for personnel for years. Falls on deaf ears.
But it is not falling on deaf ears. It is being heard. It is just not being agreed with. And that's what this is about. Sorry. Yes.
So Glen Ridge has the same fire department we have. Exact same fire department, exact same coverage. The average taxpayer in Glen Ridge pays $348 a year for the operational cost of the fire department alone. That does not include capital. Montclair's average taxpayer pays $1,455 a year for the same service. We're paying 4 times as much as Glen Ridge. We're doing that because the fire department showed up en masse to the council meetings and demanded this contract. So now I think they need to pay for it.
What percentage of calls?
Right? They are paying 4 times as much.
This is what we don't want to abuse our employees, so we're going to wrap up. And I'll continue to talk to you. Ma'am, sorry. Yeah.
Do I have to state my, sorry, this is my first meeting. Do I say go ahead?
No.
Okay. Great. I just moved here 2 years ago, so I'm very new to all this. I love Montclair so far. It's been great. I think what I've observed in the town council and the board of ed, I have a first grader who I'm really concerned about his public school. I'll leave that out of this. This is not the point. I guess my main question is, there's a lot of emotion. People obviously care a ton in this town, and that's amazing. I also feel like it's really hard for people who want to help in town to know where they can help and volunteer and make it, like, have an impact in what you're working on, all of the things we care about. And I know people work tirelessly. I know public service is a thankless job, so thank you for doing this.
No, it's great.
I think it's like, what can we do as every
You can walk over there, take a candy, and take a volunteer information form, interest form, which will let you, maybe you might want to get settled in a little more. But take one of these forms and look at it, and you'll see next to it a list of the many different commissions and boards and advisory bodies that we have. And if
May I ask a more general question?
Yeah.
Is there any way to facilitate where we can find out when the meetings are and what they're about? Because even if we're willing to attend, like this meeting today,
sure.
Our concern was you couldn't speak to it, okay? But it's not really that today is the place, so today is
the place because you got your concerns on the record.
Can you tell us when the next meeting is for both the Atlanta space and the school?
Those will probably be the planning board. They're two different, there'll be different bodies that are involved. One is the Historic Preservation Commission, one is the planning board, and one is the zoning board.
But the schedules of all the boards are on the township website. They're giving meetings.
Yes, but it doesn't say what they discuss for the
Mr. Gerhard
schedule.
would like to say something, and then we'll
All
finish
the
up.
meetings, the planning and zoning, the HBC are streamed live on YouTube and channel.
No, but we want to be there.
We want to attend.
We want to attend.
Right, but I'm letting you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the agenda is not, so can...
The agenda will be there at least the Friday before the meeting.
For all commissions and boards.
Zoning.
All right, anybody? Linda Gary? Sorry?
I know you mentioned that the Lackawanna Plaza plan is being moved along. That's the same plan that went through during Sean Spiller's council was approved 2 years ago.
That is the same
Nothing has
plan.
changed?
It's what?
Nothing's changed about it.
That's a good question. I don't think anything's
What I want
changed.
to point out is at that time, when it was approved, both of the financial analysis showed that the town made no positive gains in revenue. The first one, nothing. The second one that was pushed through within a week or two prior to the council meeting approved it, showed that we were going to make it $200,000 positive, which is virtually nothing. So back in 2013, when all this big push for high-rise apartment buildings, the key reason it was justified was to more revenue for the taxpayers, to lower the taxes for the town. So you tell me what has changed, why we're now moving this Lackawanna plan through. Is there some big change where now it's making a lot of money for the town?
I think that Councilor Harrison, who's much deeper experience, will answer this, and then I'm going to wrap everything up. So you actually have the last word.
We've hired a consultant to analyze the development. He is going to give a presentation. Yes. He is going to give his report next Tuesday at the fire station on Pine Street, and you'll have an opportunity to ask him questions.
Detailed financial analysis?
Yes. Yes, he did.
Brand new one.
Yes.
So what happens if we are still not making any money?
Okay. His analysis shows there's a net tax benefit to the town, and he'll go through the numbers on a year-by-year basis as to.
All right. Thank you, guys. If we could have a round of applause for the library staff over here, our director, Rob Ollie, and you guys, thank you so much. Thanks for the tough questions.